has
So
been left
many
open.
choices.
I feel like that is the go-to here. There's still a lot of strong other champions like the Thresh, like the Varus, that is still very much in style. So I think you can also later down the line look for the Lulu. We saw it yesterday in the LNG series as well. But Viego, still a strong skirmisher. For the most part, goes towards the jungle, has been locked in. And then the blind pick LeBlanc for Shanks against Creme here. That is confident.
That is confidence as well. I love it here, and it's so interesting to me to see the LeBlanc blind picks that I've been seeing rise in prominence here recently. Just some hands diff, as you were alluding to earlier, but I like the Xin Zhao pick for OMG. It is the most played by far for Aki, and to have that come through, the comfort for game number 1 is huge. And on top of that, we get the Samira lock-in for OMG.
That's just blind pick Samira, not something we've seen a lot recently. Quite often, Varus just has that most priority as of the AD carries right now, especially with the early aggression of Alistar being banned away. And then we ask ourselves the question as well, would Sylas get locked in by these mid laners after the nerfs had come through? And you know what? They don't care. They're still going for this champion. It's still comfort, and especially for Creme.
Yeah, you know, you got to go with comfort, especially in moments of pressure and moments of, you know, uncertainty going into a best of 5. But it's so interesting to me how we've seen these picks play out. We have a lot of blind picks that can be countered and find things into them, but a lot of comfort as well coming out here. And the Jayce lock-in as the 3rd pick for Team WE.
Yeah, we talk about comfort, but Jayce definitely one of Bree's most favorite champion to come out with this one. And we talk about topside aggression. You got the Viego in the jungle with your early skirmishing. You got the Jayce to take care of, or at least take control of the topside instead. And because this blind picker coming through, you can clearly see the second ban phase. They're trying to take away some of the annoying champions that Jayce gets to play against.
You gotta get that matchup under wraps there, but I do also like OMG's focus. There is an obvious need for a pot lane from Team WE, so you gotta take away some of those powerful pieces. I like the Braum ban, does go well with a lot of the setup that you want to have for Team WE, and the Wukong ban, as you were kind of alluding to, is just that extra secure feeling, at least for Bree in the top lane on the Jayce. But now that we're going into this second phase and seeing some of these things align, it's very interesting to see OMG still having some individual pieces they want to grab. They still have an individual lane to grab, and they still have to grab their engaged support that we want Cold to have.
Yeah, but you can clearly see they're trying to take away some of the disengaged champions as well, and some of the champions that does well into early aggression and tanky stats, like the Trundle as well coming into it. I like the Rail ban as well from WE. Rail and Samira is just such a potent combo because of the fact that Samira can just dash in, and then Rail will have the attract and repel to just stun them immediately and set up the Samira passive. So very smart ban to come out from that one, and we've seen a lot of Vayne as of late. Light had 2 games on this champion yesterday in the LNG versus Suning series, and it just seems like the Chinese AD carry, the LPL, they keep going with this favorite champion.
I was just about to make a point about Elk having like 3 times, 4 times almost the amount of times played on the Ezreal than anybody else on his roster, but then he's gonna go ahead and whip out the Vayne. He has not played it in the regular split of the summer split of LPL, so this is a huge adaptation from Team WE. It is responded to in kind with a lot of lockdown, a lot of setup from Cold, exactly what we wanted with that Leona.
Yeah, but I'm starting to get a bit worried for WE, because right now you don't have any immediate form of engage. You don't have anything to challenge them once you get to that later stage of the game where team fighting will become a thing that we once again have established is home turn for OMG. Then you take a look at OMG's composition. Now you have the Ornn, you have the Leona, you have the Sylas that can steal away any engage ultimate if you were to pick the last champion here for WE with an engage, and Samira to just pull that infernal trigger at the right moment in the later fights. OMG's comp, very easy to execute towards the late game. You want to be team fighting.
You gotta find the team fights where you can get them, and it's we gotta see how those styles clash here going into it, as Alistar is the final lock-in for Team WE. So Guldborg, we have our team comp set up. We have a lot of what we were kind of asking for, but it's very key to talk about some of these blind matchups, some of these picks that we got to see where we have some very volatile matchups across the board.
Yeah, I'm looking at a Sylas, and then I'm looking at your last pick, and then I'm looking at the fact you decided to pick Alistar into that to give Sylas the unbreakable will. If Creme gets ahead, and he gets to take over this game, he's not only just going to be incredibly fed on the Sylas, he's also going to be having that Alistar ultimate as a backup. I think OMG's composition is Vayne. You can just go double armor in your runes as well. Then you're up against the top side of the map with Viego and Jayce that is full armor as well. And you just get easy itemization. The LeBlanc can get to be a problem once she gets priority in the mid lane because it is ranged into melee. But outside of that, I think OMG's comp, they know exactly what they want.
And as we hit the rift for the first time of this best of 5, you saw the beautiful skybox. It means we're ready to do battle. OMG taking on Team WE, game number 1 right now.
Obviously, this is a best of 5. We will have loads of games coming your way. But I think specifically for the first game where we have to pay attention to is definitely the junglers, what they will have to influence. Beishang and Aki now starting on opposite sides. So on the Xin Zhao will be pathing down towards this bot side of the map. And you can clearly tell why. You have Cold and Able to play for. Your Ornn is the weak sider. You don't want to play for the Ornn. On the other side of the map then, once again, WE with Beishang pathing up towards the top side of the map. Very top side focused. So both teams right now in style, and we were talking about what this OMG wants to do. They want to attack the bot side here.
And talk about OMG, you saw that graphic up there, just a reminder that this is the first time we have seen OMG in the playoffs in just a little while, I would say, but trying to make their name known here yet again. And I do want to keep a little side eye on those jungle pathing, see if we see any skipped camps or things along those lines. I find that super crucial when you're looking at where the early skirmishing can come down.
I completely agree. And I also want to take a look at this little 2v2 down in the bot lane because of the CC coming through from Elk, he's been forced to go cleanse. And when you go cleanse, you always lose value in the 2v2. You don't have the advantage of a heal. You get the advantage of the 9 CC, but in later extended fights, the heal is going to be more pivotal. And that is why you see OMG just be aggressive. That is why you see the bot lane of OMG try to take control, because in a straight up 2v2, they just win. And at the same time, they have their jungler pathing down towards them, so they get to play aggressive down towards this bot side, while WE spot lane, they just want to wait. They want to scale a little bit with the Vayne.
Yeah, gosh, this early game is already giving us so much to think about in terms of where we're going to see that early pathing from both these junglers. I do like to see and note that, we're not going to get into the shenanigans of skip camps or anything of those lines. I think we're just going to go for a full clear from both sides. But that 2v2 in the bot lane is going to be something to keep our eyes on, as well as we do see Aki down that way. But I still want to see if we get that early proactivity around these scuttles, if we see this mid lane turn into a bit of a volatile state, Guldborg.
I don't think we will. You can clearly just see what's happening right now. Top side of the map, Brief will have first move due to him shoving in the wave. The same can be said for Shanks in the mid lane, who's also pushed Creme under his tower. And because of that, Beishang will just go for the top side scuttle, which is incredibly easy to take. And on the other half of the map, OMG's bot lane, they have the priority, they have the first move, and therefore super easy for Aki to clean up the jungle as well. So as you can see right now, Beishang just getting some vision, Cole coming up towards the mid lane, trying to stop Shanks from pushing in, but it seems like we're just going to get a clear-cut reset for both teams right here, where Creme is going to TP back to the lane, and the junglers are just going to be resetting out towards the map again.
Look at Cole being such a nice guy here. He's just able to take up the wave for his team, and for Creme being able to help that wave not crash all the way. And also something else to note here is that Cold was able to get on a roam timer. I know it didn't accomplish too much except for getting Creme into at least a semi-stable lane state, but it's important to see that coming down early on, as talk about coming down early on, New trading very heavily in the top lane against Breathe.
Yep, he is, and towards the other side of the map, Beishang is towards the bot side right now. He is spotted out by the early vision that came through from Cold as well, so the jungle tracking for both teams right now in the early game is really good, because right now Aki is also spotted on a ward towards the Grump here, and that may slow this early game down a little bit, which should be favorable for OMG, because of the fact that you don't need to create any skirmishes where you know the enemy jungler is. Right now on the top side, New knows he can be a bit more greedy, try and go up and get a bit more of these waves. He know Beishang is on the other side of the map, and for the bot lane right now from WE, they know they can be a bit more aggressive. They know they can push out the lane without having to fear for them getting a gank right now, and that's why you can see they push out the lane. Now they are getting the reset through from themselves. So both teams right now in the early game, they're actually reading each other really well. They're playing nicely around the information they're getting.
Yeah, the information is key in these, but I do, want to say, like, Team WE, their strengths are in that early game. We see a decent amount of skirmish and early game presence on their squad, but as you let this kind of go through and get later on, it gets a little bit scarier. New actually giving a lot of damage to Breathe on the TP back, as Breeze's probably just going to get a reset. But I do want to see how this kind of works out for Team WE here.
I completely agree, and I think right now for WE, the strongest point of the map right now is the mid lane. You can just see Shanks now actually pushed Creme back into the lane again, forced him to recall. He's going to be losing some CS, he's going to be losing some XP, while Shanks, he's just going to take the recall for himself now, which what I think is a little slow push. He started to push in towards himself there. So right now for the mid lane, it's still very much in favor for WE. But remember, OMG don't have to be proactive in the early game. They have a lot of great team fighting tools later on. They want to fight and they want to be proactive once these level 6 starts to come through from their compositions, once they can start breaking out in these all-out fights. But speaking of fights, we may get a first one around the scuttle here. Beishang is just going to do it.
As he cursed it, he's like, nope, I heard him talk about it. I'm getting away from that Scuttle Crab. Cold goes in for an engage on bot, though. Decent amount of damage on him missing. Will be Scuttle Crab secured by Aki. This also means they have priority in mid and bot, so they're going to take the first dragon of the game early on. OMG changed it up a little bit.
Yeah, this is very favorable for OMG as well, that they can start getting the early stacking going from the get-go. Because of the fact, when you get to a late game, and if you can threaten Soul, then you can force WE to walk into you. Right now, if WE were able to stall out some games, buy themselves 5 extra minutes, or put themselves in a position where they wouldn't have to contest objective, that would have been great for them. But right now, because OMG is so early in the game, start putting this Drake stack in on the clock, that's really favorable for them, because then they can start grouping up around Drakes. Then they can start threatening a Drake and a Soul win condition.
So I got to pick your brain a little bit, Guldborg, because this is it's not common to see like a double full clear from both junglers early on, right? Usually you're seeing a little bit of influence early, you're seeing that kind of fighting. We're 7 minutes in, we really haven't gotten a lot of skirmishing between what you, or besides what you see typically in the lane. So I want to see how that kind of works out for Team WE, as they seem to be resting just a little bit, waiting to kind of turn on here. But I do want to look at Shanks in the mid lane on the LeBlanc. That is a carry that you need to get gold on. You need to get snowballing.
So right now, what I kind of thought that they tried to set up for WE was they wanted to invade on the top side of the map, because W had priority with Brief and they had priority with Shanks. And if you remember 2 minutes ago, they had that early ward on the Grom, so they had the intel on Aki. So what I thought that they were going to be doing is that they're going to be using that mid lane priority and that top side priority to start fights around Beishang, to try and put Aki behind. But that didn't happen. And because these things are not happening right now, WE are struggling to do anything with their priority. Even with a mid lane priority, they couldn't get the first Drake. Even with top lane priority, they couldn't get any invade up towards the Grump here. So it's starting to get a bit scary for WE if they're not able to find any leads with the priority that they're getting for themselves in the early game. And once again, OMG just for the first move here again. Yeah,
they move into the invade to the jungle. Not going to commit fully, but you did have Cold on the roam timer first. Did find Missing up there, though, so Missing able to get on the roam timer himself, but it's still that proactivity that you want to see from OMG here. A little bit of a change-up of typical style, but they were able to feel pretty comfortable with it. The biggest thing right now is this objective control for OMG, but another side point I want to highlight is that Team WE has passively gotten about a 1,000 gold lead off the back of no fighting, but some lane dominance.
But 1,000 right now is 100% okay. The thing is, though, now with OMG spending resources up towards the top side of the map with Herald, what you saw W immediately do was get into towards the enemy jungle, get all the wards down, get the priority for your laners, and try and deny Abel as much as possible. There's no TP for Creme just yet.
Oh, Abel with the beautiful flash out. Now they're able to turn some damage back. It's looking like first blood for Team WE. The Blade Whirl is not going to be enough to save you today. Who's going down first? It's a kill to Elk. And it's Abel who falls to first blood for Team WE. They're following the fight. Cold goes down next. Creme, you're going down too. The captain goes down with the ship, and it's 3 shots across the bow for Team WE. Breathe is going to get soloed in top. Is he going to get out? He does, as Aki cannot find the response kill.
Yeah, and this is super awkward for WE as well, because if they want to push for the Herald, you're injecting gold into the Ornn, which is by no means the member you would like to do that. I think OMG played into the hands of WE there, because they knew the entire top side of WE would be towards here. You can see the TP from Sylas is not up just yet. There it finally comes, but it's like 2 seconds too late. The move has already come through from Shanks, who had the mid lane priority, and Abel, I don't know what you're doing. They already forced away your flash. This minion wave, you're just forced to give it up, because you spent resource towards the top side. Your play was to get the Herald, and because of that, you lose priority on the bot, which WE just equalized on immediately.
And Creme able to get that Unbreakable Will, but was stunned up for so long, the utilization of it didn't come out until his health bar was like halfway down anyways. So a little bit unfortunate circumstance there for Creme, this mid laner of OMG that we put such high hopes on, but there still is this path forward, right? You've given up a decent amount of gold early on, and especially the big thing for me is it's on Elk's Vayne, which is huge in its own right, but you still have to think about the things that OMG are good at.
Also, because of the fact that there is one champion that will neutralize that Unbreakable Will, and that is the Vayne with the W true damage to come through. So, even though Creme does have that Alistar ultimate, if your biggest threat is the Vayne, then you're still going to be struggling. And quite noticeably, after that play as well, they did not opt in to use the Herald up towards the top side of the map. I think that was a very clever call from the side of OMG. I don't think that Herald would have been worth it if they just injected gold into the Ornn, because of the fact that he's a tank. He's not going to be the one that's going to be carrying you with his tank items. You need your carries to get that extra gold. You need to get them to a point where they're able to be a threat for the enemy team.
You know, I just think it's funny, Guldborg, as we set up this whole top side of the map and everything, but all the action has been bot lane as we've gotten all the chaos down there. But that also lends to that change of style, that adaptation from both these teams going into the playoffs. These are kinds of things that you can build off of. And speaking of building off of, you got a 2-kill Vayne down there. That opens up so many options for Team WE. Do you continue to play down that way? Do you go somewhere else? Looks like they're going to opt into playing down in bot. You've got a 3v3 brewing, but Creme is coming as some reinforcements. Elk on the back here. They've got a split. That's a big amount of damage from the Inferno trigger, but OMG are just getting wiped off by Vayne. You cannot stop the Vayne carry the puppy. It's 3 kills for Elk, and that's a dragon for Team WE.
12 minutes into the game, 5 kills in Elk's Vayne. That is a scary thing if you're an OMG fan right here, and especially for Elk, this must feel good after being subbed out in his last series that he had. Now he's on the wave, now he's able to take control. He's not a weak side on 6, he's able to carry the fights on a scary kite champion like the Vayne here. Now he also gets to push in the wave, he gets to get a favorable reset, and here we'll have the pro view as well just to see how he's done it. I love this when this happens.
I love Vayne pro views because it's so frightening. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time, but the amount of damage you're doing is insane, and you can see the target selection. It's just too clean. He's being able to dodge through the fight, not being focused, and that is one of the big changes I need to see from OMG going into the next couple skirmishes and things along those lines. You have to focus Elk. He is the carry right now, and for his first time performance on the Vayne.
Elk was so untouched that fight that he was able to stack overheal on the enemy champions and not take any damage. That's how easy it was for him to navigate through it. And now with the Herald almost running out, WE forced to just use it up towards the top side. And the reason for that is you can see they were trying to set up for it in the bottom lane earlier. Couldn't really do it. And because of that, lost the Herald, lost the Drake, no longer stacking on their favor. And now a 4k gold deficit against WE.
It's impressive to be able to stay in, though. And I think it would have been nicer if they were able to get that tower. It's so close to falling up there. And that's just that extra gold from the first tower take. But unable to do that, they got to switch up focus. Switch up mindset back to this mid, back to this bot. Is able to use the Blade World to get away. Oh my god, Elk, you do so much damage. No, he can't get it. But Shanks is right here. You gotta think Abel is worse for wear. One tick will do it. Shanks picks up a kill. That's his second of the game. Ornn popped here. Do you have some reinforcements? He can't get the second trigger off, and New is just gonna have to be the front force in the front line. OMG are here. Creme is here. Big focus from the side of OMG, but they gotta run. They have Beishang right on their heels, and it's looking like a dead Aki as Beishang picks up his first kill of the game. They're looking at bot lane. They're looking to dive. Team WE is unstoppable at this point. Guldborg, just get him out of there as Elk picks up his next kill. It's 6 total for the Vayne.
What do you do when your AD carry can't even 1v1 the enemy AD carry on the tower? Elk is taking over this game, and WE, we've always talked about, wow, they're so good at facilitating breathe. Look at him. He's just standing alone. This first game has been all about Elk on the Vayne, and because he's so ahead of the curve already, he's just one-shotting the enemy carries. He's so scary right now on this Vayne, and right now what I think WE is going to be doing, they're just going to be moving him around the map the entire time. He's going to be the player you're playing for, because right now, who's going to stop him on the enemy team? Ornn's not tanky enough. Sylas with Unbreakable Will is not going to do it. And then Abel under tower, like, it's just so...
This is just dirty.
Look at the damage coming out here.
Oh,
wow.
God, that's despicable. That's despicable. And the fact that the rest of the team is there to back him up. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is like everybody seems to be on the same page. And you get to see the rest of this fight lay out. Beautifully done by Missing to cancel the secondary activation of the Ornn as well.
Yeah, I think Missing in the entire fight actually just played it quite well. Really good at setting up the head bob against walls every time. So as you said yourself there, he did it on the Ornn, but it's also the setup they get on Creme as the fight continues here. And Beishang, really nice job setting it up with the slow as well, but we're just going to go out of that and get to the second Herald immediately, where it seems like WE, they're just keeping up the pressure. They're just taking over the jungle of OMG right now, and what they're probably going to be doing right now is just have Shanks in the mid lane, make sure that he will always have that first move with him pushing in the enemy, so they'll be busy trying to clear waves, and then you can focus on these tier 2 turrets. Remember, killing a tier 2 turret in a side lane right now gives 600 gold. That's the value of 2 kills. It is so incredibly good if you're able to pick up these for the second Herald. It brings you so much value.
Yeah, it's a lot of that standing gold still left on the table for you to get back in the game with. But the biggest thing for me right now is, I know you probably have some as well. I hope everybody at least has experienced it once, but Vaynes are scary. First of all, that's all I'm going to say. But the second thing I'm going to say is when they get fed early on, it is a late game hyper carry that can just absolutely demolish games. And to deal with that is so difficult, especially when you're looking at the composition that OMG have for themselves. And I think that, you know, Abel on the Samira, there's been some bright moments at least for Samiras in the past, but it has been absolute lane domination from Team WE. And it's not just the bot lane, right? You're seeing so much pressure from Shanks in the mid lane. They're even going to take the mid lane tower as well, maybe even the tier 2, and then Breathe able to solidify the side lane. Maybe he's not been involved as much, but it's still this strong presence for Team WE.
It definitely is, and just like that, they took over two laners right there with the 2 turrets.
So
they're just going to be moving the pressure down towards the bottom lane, and you know, I think they're going to be able to make good use of this as well and just take it over there. There you go, 3 turrets at the span of 1 minute. WE did not give it up.
Missing a little bit low on health, but Creme is as well. Heartbreaker comes out. You're getting resets now as Missing is the one that gets the kill. Elk has been focused now. He will go down. No, he doesn't. The Condemned saves his life. And they will continue to press forward. You're getting continued resets from Beishang as well. And that is almost an ace against OMG. It's 18 minutes in, and they're losing an inhib, Guldborg.
I can't believe this. Not only did they just stay for 2 turrets, 3 turrets, and they actually took the fight as well, and they won out of it. I think you said it correctly there. The Condemned from Elk genuinely saved that fight. The fact that that shutdown did not go over to the enemy really solidified that. I thought the call was, all right, we're going to be taking the turret. There's a Drake up as well. We can be stacking that now as well. They just don't care. They just go and Creme immediately, and even though he's got the Unbreakable Will, nothing is stopping them. You got to give the flank here from Aki, but the fact Elk just gets him with the Condemned, even though Aki tries to dodge it with the flash, he just flashes towards another wall. So it's like, what do you do? There's a wall here, there's an Ornn queue over there, and there's a third wall over here. It's just nothing is working out for OMG right now.
And that's something I love going into this best of 5. We labeled out, like, what is the growth? What do we see the internal meta of this best of 5 become between these two teams? Well, you know, one way to shake that up, Guldborg, is to just smash game number 1. That mental advantage you can get in the series is huge. We got to see how that plays out, as New is going to find Missing. They find a little bit of damage. This might be an overextension because they got 4 members of Team WE behind, but now they've got the full strength of OMG's squad. They want to go for this fight, it seems. Aki already burning the Crescent Guard, is out of cooldowns, and that means Team WE are ready to pounce. Missing a little bit low. There's the Ornn back, the re-engage from OMG. They have found Elk. That's a huge shutdown, and that will force Team WE off of the fight.
That's a big shutdown. 1,000 gold going over to the side of Creme. It does not put them in a more favorable position when you talk about map state. They're still very much 8k down. We've seen them come back from 7k deficits, but make no mistake, this is still very much WE favored, and you need more miracles like that. That was WE just being very overstepped. That was WE just being very disrespectful. They were fighting for vision control around the blue side, on the side of OMG right here, but they didn't need to be here. There's 1 minute until the Drake spawns. You can see on the minimap, Brave is pushing up towards the top side of the map. So initially, they're just running into a 4v5 situation, and even though Elk does a lot of damage, once this exhaust comes down, I think you just back out here. It's still a 4v5. The return to come through with the Ornn, it's just not good enough from Elk when he doesn't have a flash. Super easy to pick him off.
They barely touched Elk there with that Ornn too. It's just a little side touch, but it's enough to take down the ADC of Team WE. Somebody who's been getting a ton of the resources, and now using those resources, Team WE turned their sights on the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, what are they supposed to do? You're playing against one of the best champions at taking down a Baron with the Vayne here. Like, yes, you're coming in now, but there's multiple pink wards that's denying vision from the side of OMG. And they only have one blue trinket. That blue trinket is clearing the mid lane right now, enable. And at the same time, Brave is just down in the bot side clearing minions. They're doing this as 4 people. WE own the entirety of Summoner's Rift right now, but they're trying to collapse on him.
Ooh, all right, he stayed a little bit extra to get that inhib. He might be going down here. He flashes into the Ornn. There's the double setup, and Creme gets his second kill of the game. OMG are able to find it.
Nicely done there by New, and I mean, it's the small things you gotta appreciate for OMG right now, because they do not have a lot going well for them right now. Brave flashing into that Ornn, I mean, just nice predict from New. I think he was stressed to the fact that he knew a lot of members was coming for them, so he just had to flash immediately, and because of that, New hit it. But 4 sides on the top now from Elk, pushing in.
You can't really go into that. That's a lot of damage from Elk. The shutdown on Elk not going to be there just yet. There it is, though. Creme able to find it. Missing a little bit low. Heartbreaker comes out, but Beishang is trying to get away from the bite. No, he goes right back in, but he gets taken down himself. Creme is starting to put on a heck of a performance and earn that Rookie of the Split trophy he's got, because he is bringing up OMG.
And just like that, they only have 1 Baron buff left on the map on WE. Shanks is the only one to Baron now. They overstepped once again as 4 people on the top side now. I think they're just getting too overconfident with Elk. He is incredibly fed, but you can't just walk 1v5 every time and just outplay your opponent. That's the 2nd time in a row that Creme has just been able to pick up shutdowns now.
And I honestly just like the decision-making from OMG here. They realize, like, you can't just let a Vayne kite you like that, poke you down. Aki says, I'm popping the Crescent Guard, I'm going in. We got to get the engage on this guy. They do find it in the end. And Creme, as I was mentioning, is just looking so good on the Sylas. You might have gotten some nerfs, but it's still a strong champion, a lot of versatility in it as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think this is also a testimony to the comp of WE and OMG. Right now, OMG, you can still quite clearly see it. They do teamfight quite well. The problem for them is that WE got so far ahead as they did in the early game. But we've had this criticism a lot for WE throughout the entirety of the split. They are a genuinely great early game team. And once you get to the mid to late game, they start dropping the ball. They start making plays like this. And the thing is, it's weird because it's not one consistent factor. It's just usually small hiccups that will cost them the game so often. And it's hiccups you can't commit any longer unless you want OMG to crawl themselves back into this game, which we thought was impossible just 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and that's what I want to dive into a little bit more as we're getting the setup from Team WE and these invades. But it's just so crucial to talk about OMG's focus on that late game. You got to get the scaling. You got to get those late objectives, the dragon control, especially that 3rd dragon. And when you start turning those on, Team WE with that early advantage. We've seen that play out here, but Team WE do have some scaling factors. They do have some possibilities in the late game to combat that strength of OMG. The hands diff that we were highlighting earlier, and it's got to be off the back of Elk, but it's also the positioning of the team and how they want to take fights. Do not let that confidence be your downfall.
I completely agree, and luckily for OMG as well, this is just a Cloud Soul. Cloud Soul, I think the most beneficial member right now in WE is going to be the Vayne for this, so she get that extra movement speed, and obviously it does become harder to catch her, but it's the fact that you don't have to worry about too much. It's not extra damage on everyone. It's not an Infernal Soul LeBlanc that will just stop you in, Q you, and all of a sudden that's half your HP. It's still very close to it, Shanks here, while he's controlling the rest of the vicinity and the jungle of OMG, but it's still an objective that gives you time to scale here from the side of OMG, and I think that's the crucial part for them right now.
Something else I want to focus in on is the itemization that we're seeing here. A lot of AP already in the pockets of Shanks. He's got the Ludens. He's also got 10 stacks on his Magi's. And he has a building to the death cap here. So you can appreciate that. But it's also a 3.5 item spike for Elk on the Vayne. Got to be careful of that one. I will want to see Creme turning it on when he gets to that 3 item spike, because I think that this is where OMG can start to look for those picks again and find those advantages, even though they are so far in the deficit.
That's the thing, but how does OMG or W start closing out this game in the meantime? Because right now, OMG is doing a very good job at just dealing with the pressure. Even though they have an inhibitor down, they don't mind setting new up over there. Even though they're losing a lot of their camps, they're still stalling for time. And right now, WE is not able to get extra objectives. So Seoul is on the map in 3 minutes. Baron will be on the map in 1 minute as well. I think for WE, they want to set up this Baron. And with that Baron, they want to try and make one last push as 5 or try and split up the map where they're not getting caught, and Breathe is able to just excel his pressure on the side lane, as we saw beforehand, before the mistake came through from WE.
And we are on Soul Point for Team WE. It's been a little bit quiet there when we've been talking about the Dragon front, because it has been a lot of Team WE being able to find those here now that we've gotten the Soul. We talked earlier in the game how important the Soul can be in terms of what you can do with it on the map, where you can play around when you're on Soul Point, with the push and pull that you can have. And I think that this is where Team WE can really succeed in and close out this game. As you were kind of saying, get that Baron buff, get the finishing part of this game, cross your T's, dot your I's, and they are focusing their selves up to this top side.
Yeah, but the item spikes has come through from the side of OMG as well. It's not 3 items on the AD carry, but it's the shield bow and it is the collector, which is a pivotal item for the Samira. But right now, Shanks
upgraded
is on a flank
Everfrost
as well
for Creme.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Got
The Ornn items
decent
has started to come through as well at this point in time. Rabbitin's not there just yet, but you can clearly see Shonius is there as well. Cold might be getting caught now.
He is taking a lot of damage. Does dodge out of the accelerated shot blast. Goes Golding, missing, taking a ton of damage off the back of it. The Shanks get the side angle here. Does not find it. OMG able to turtle up and stay strong together.
The Baron is live, and with them being pushed back now, there's nothing stopping OMG for just starting this one. Remember, Vayne is still very much in the team. She's even stronger than before.
They gotta
Minions
deal with the
pushing
bot
into your
lane.
bottom half of the map. You have to do something as OMG right now.
Breathe have TP. Breathe has TP just in case he wants to be the finishing blow to the squad. But that is Baron buff given over to Team WE. That is the second Baron for them. And you got to expect they're going to push into the base extremely hard.
Yeah, this time around, I think you can just set up the bot side, you can set it in the mid, you can have 2 lanes pushing in. If you don't feel capable for taking a fight around that, then you just move up towards the top side afterwards and try and clear out the last inhibitor. You need to move around as a cohesive unit now and not get picked off one by one, because they still have a lot of pick potential. The Abduct Abscond from the side of Creme, the Zenith Blade from Cold together with the Solar Flare. You can't get caught right now as WE. You need to put the finishing touches onto the game now.
And it's so crazy to me, and that shows a little bit of breadth to this series, that it is a 10,000 gold lead for Team WE, but we still have hope that OMG can find these fights. We've seen Creme able to turn it on when it matters most, and it's not ever over until the Nexus explodes.
It's definitely not, and problem for OMG is right now that the poke will come through from Breathe. The poke will come through from Shanks, who's just going to be distorting over and hitting you with these sigils. So at one point in time soon for OMG, they have to feel confident to just take a fight, because if they don't, they'll just slowly but surely get strangled out of their own base here.
Oh, it looks like they're just getting strangled out anyways. Aki is almost dead, has to back off. That's going to signal Team WE to take these inhibs. They've got every lane pushing. Every tower is going to go down here with the focus from Team WE, and that could just be the nail in the coffin for game number 1 of OMG, because it is so difficult to come back from flooding super minions in their base. They want to defend. They want one last moment, but they've already lost Creme, a big piece to the puzzle, and OMG, they're sticking in the fight. They're slogging it out, but Team WE's fists are just too strong. They've been training for too long, and Team WE will finish off game number 1. They've just got a couple more T's and I's to dot off and cross, but these last Nexus towers will be going down, and OMG fall to Team WE in game 1.
And there it finally happens. It's the inconsistencies that we have seen in WE, but nonetheless, a huge early game lead they got themselves put them in a position where even though they got caught off guard in the mid game, even though it started to look like OMG came a bit back to life, it was still a huge gold lead. WE was just able to take over the objectives, and Elk on this Vayne, able to shred the first Baron, then the second, and then afterwards they just moving around as a cohesive unit, not letting anyone get caught off guard. That was the big moment for WE. That was the moment OMG couldn't do anything any longer because the wallet was just simply too big from the side of WE.
Man, I just look at that triple kill on bot lane for Team WE after just the confidence play coming out from them. It just all seemed downhill from there from OMG, and you see the gold graph, it is a little bit downhill from there as you saw that early influx into Elk on this Vayne, not having pulled it out in the regular split in the summer, but here in the playoffs, it's that adaptation that gives Team WE the leg up in this series.
Yeah, I think it's for the most part because a lot of the champions we use right now in the bot lane in the LPL doesn't really excel at the early game. A lot of them is there to be proactive in the mid to late game. So once you see some of these champions, once you can get the support counter pick, you can pick yourself an AD carry like Vayne that gets kind of free scaling. I think the majority of the problem here for OMG was the fact that they decided to start up Herald. As soon as this happened, WE just capitalized on it immediately and took control of all over the bot side. They made an adaptation to say, breathe, you're playing against an Ornn. There's nothing you can do here. He's got double armor. We can't do nothing. So let's move it towards the bottom lane and just starve Abel out. Abel, too greedy for resources, played into the hand of WE. And as soon as Elk picked up those first kills, as soon as he was able to just solo Abel on the turret as well, I mean, I thought to myself, that is game. That Vayne is just too far ahead. There is no way you come back from this one.
And I got to give a special shout out to Shanks. It was this member of the team that we said, you know, is a little bit behind Breathe in the spotlight. Breathe is this huge piece to Team WE, something they really like to play around. This time taking a little bit more of a backseat role, but still having big influences. I got to say that split push at the bottom when they were taking that Rift Herald and getting all that pressure down there was huge. But Shanks coming up clutch against Creme, the rookie of the split here, Guldborg.
Yeah, completely. Creme, the guy with the second most solo kills. Shanks, a guy that's rarely talked about when we talk mid laners in the LPL, but with the LeBlanc into the Sylas, the priority he was able to get, the priority to have the first move down towards the bottom side of the map, to move up to get vision on the top side of the map, it just put a very good read on the early game that kind of put them in that favorable position as we've already established.
The dude blind picked it, by the way, as well. Just gonna throw that one out there, but we gotta sit it to a little break. We gotta get ourselves ready for game number 2. The OMG comeback has to start here soon, and we'll see if it can happen in game number 2. We'll be right back.